As crypto crashes around us and you see the panic and fear that normally happens to people when they've made certain decisions about crypto, I kind of wanted to take a step back and today talk a little bit about opportunity and the ability to make decisions that change your life. If you guys do like this content, please like and subscribe. It does help. Do whatever the cool kids do and hype it, share it, X, Y, and Z. So I don't really have a fully blown out script for this, but I felt like it was important to do a video because I know how emotional people can get in crypto. And for those of us that are in this space or just even in life in general, normally when stuff happens, they turn outward and they try to look at other people to give them answers. That's certainly the case in the crypto industry and blockchain and distributed ledger, where people look to influencers from everything from stuff that's positive and bullish to where the market's going next. Is the 4-year cycle going to, is it still valid? Is it going to continue? But at the end of the day, none of these people really have any clue what's going to happen. So brings me to the point of, this entire discussion. You really have to look inward and start making your own decisions to determine your own destiny, because at the end of the day, we have no idea if tomorrow is even going to happen. All we can focus on is ourselves. All we can control is ourselves. And the only time that we can do that is at the very present. The past doesn't matter anymore, and the future is certainly not promised. So I'll get into this a little bit here. So I think first and foremost, the first point I want to make is that you have the opportunity and the power to change your life. You can do literally whatever you want to do in your entire life. Any hopes or dreams that you have can be put into action by you stopping talking about them and starting to do them. Nobody else is going to help you do this. Now, I think that we hear things in life where you kind of make your own luck, where it's interesting whenever you start going down a path of accountability for yourself personally, and you start setting plans, or you start actually putting in the work to achieve goals, that things tend to kind of fall into place naturally. This is at least what I've seen, is that, really you are the only one that can turn your kind of dreams into reality. If you listen, it's interesting. So I was watching this morning, and this is just a total sidebar. I was watching like the Eddie Murphy documentary this morning, and he said when he was a kid, he was like 12 or 13 years old. He said, he was going around telling everybody that he knew he was going to be famous. That was his goal. That was his dream. And it was almost like he had self-confirmation bias to the point that he knew it was going to happen, because people would say, that's not going to happen. And he's like, what the hell are you talking about? Yes, it is going to happen. And he put the work in, started doing stand-up comedy at like, I think 15 and 16 years old, and did become, famous and achieved his goals. Same thing happened with Jim Carrey. You can go and watch some old interviews there too. But at the end of the day, those individuals had such drive and self-confirmation bias that they achieved exactly what they wanted to achieve. I think a lot of times, especially in society today, we tend to look outward for people to solve our problems. Unfortunately, that's not the way the cookie normally crumbles. The only person that can solve your problems is you. You do tend to find out, as you start solving your own problems, a lot of people externally to you don't necessarily like that you're solving your own problems, but you can't control them. All you can control is you. So when we look at the markets of crypto crashing right now, Bitcoin around 95 or 96K, whatever it may be, first and foremost, I do find it interesting. I've pulled that chart up so many times, and I don't know if it's confirmation or not, but that really long chart that I drew with like time frames and percent drawdowns and all sorts of stuff that basically said, hey, we may top in September or October of this year. So if it is the top, who knows? But it doesn't matter. I mean, I'm not going to share a chart with you today because I don't care. You watch probably 95 to 98% of these videos, and I'm probably not pulling up charts. Number one, I'm not going to feign importance enough to act like I can do TA that's going to actually pan out for you guys. Number two, I just don't really see the point, because I believe personally in where this, the blockchain and distributed ledger space is going. So if prices crash, I look at that as an opportunity. And if prices go up, I look at that as an opportunity. I think a lot of times in crypto, we have this, and in life, we have this instant gratification that we need to feel okay as human beings. And at the end of the day, that is not normally healthy. So whenever you think about hard work and putting in hard work to achieve your goals, it is quite literally that, showing up every single day to make small changes that end up being bigger changes in your life. That's the only way that things normally happen in a sustainable way. Otherwise, of course, there's going to be people that get lucky and, end up getting rich. But I look at getting rich much different than being wealthy. And I don't look at wealthy even from a financial standpoint so much as from a mental health standpoint, because if you are not wealthy from a mental health standpoint and you don't have your shit together individually first, what's the point of having tons of money? Because we've seen so many times people that end up becoming multimillionaires end up, offing themselves because they're just not happy. We could get into what the definition of happy versus kind of being okay with things too, because happy is kind of fleeting. Anyways, to kind of bring it back to the point here, instant gratification in crypto certainly is one of these other things, this kind of get rich quick mindset. I've been in crypto since late 2016, and I've certainly, for probably at least the first four or 5 years, had that kind of get rich quick mindset. But also I wasn't mentally healthy or prepared enough to even deal with myself, let alone, thank God I didn't get rich, because I probably would be dead at this point in time if I did get rich back then. So, I think the way I look at crypto, blockchain, distributed ledger now is it's fundamentally going to be a part of our everyday lives at some point in time. So if prices crash, nothing's promised in this space. I look at it as an opportunity to potentially load up on things I did not get an opportunity to load up on. If prices raise, I don't look at it as an opportunity anymore to necessarily even, get rich, more so situation changing. Like if XRP or hbar or, this obviously is not financial advice, any of these any of these assets we've talked about, Chainlink, whatever, if this stuff skyrockets, and people get rich, great. But at the end of the day, I think it's much more sustainable to set plans in advance so that you kind of set your own opportunities. Like how many times do we see in crypto that people just totally over leverage themselves, which is just absolutely crazy. It's like, what is the point of that? Because number one, if you can't be comfortable enough on a daily basis to like live your life and enjoy your life, you have no idea if tomorrow is even going to happen in life. So setting the bar for yourself that is, way too high and just not, eating raw. I've literally seen people that are like, well, I ate ramen for 5 years. And it's like, that sucks, because you don't know if you're going to have 5 years. You don't know if you're going to have 4 years, 3 years, 2 years. You don't know if you're going to have an hour from now. I would not want to go through, maybe the guy or the girl really liked ramen. But I mean, I think the point here is there is a way to live life, and, in a way that is like kind of fulfilling, I guess, in a way, but also more sustainable. And it's not necessarily the easiest thing to do. I know there's a lot of people that like struggle with gambling, especially in crypto, and addiction and all sorts of things. And the only way to change that is to kind of internally look. This is not meant to be preachy, because I have no problem with people, drinking or doing whatever they want to. Everybody has the right to do whatever they want to. But I do think it's interesting when people complain and point the finger outward. It's a lot easier to point the finger outward. This is manipulated. Markets are manipulated, and life is unfair. Everybody knows life is unfair. It's much easier to point the finger outward than it is to look at yourself and point the finger directly at yourself for the pain, struggles, and issues that you're having. Because 99.9% of the time, actually 100% of the time, you're the only one that can, change your situation and start making decisions that lead you to that. It's a lot easier to talk about stuff than it is to actually do things. And I think there's countless opportunities in crypto. Like I have seen so many people that have changed their lives, not from a gambling on a token standpoint, but from a getting involved standpoint, getting into Discords, getting into Telegrams, building something, seeing something that they didn't have on a network, and building it for themselves because they wanted to see it, learning how to code. I've literally heard that you could take probably a Udemy JavaScript course. One of the guys who's now, I don't know what his role. I think he's senior project manager or senior product manager of tokenization and consensus, or project manager. Maybe it's even a bigger role than that at Hashgraph now. So essentially, like within Hedera, right? But he started by building things that he wanted to see on the Hedera network. There was like no money involved in that. Obviously, he was kind of doing it because he wanted to see it. But he had told me, somebody could probably take a Udemy course and learn JavaScript at the very fundamental level in a handful of months and probably automatically make 70, 80 grand a year now with inflation. Because I think back then he said around 60. I mean, that's a wild opportunity. And I know people directly that have gotten into Discords or some of these layer one networks and just started grinding and putting in the work at the community level, and then ended up changing their careers. It doesn't have to be, especially in crypto, about these kind of instant gratification moments. Yeah. So, and I also think, from, like I said, the mindset protection is important, because normally as you decide to make changes, people try to either A, take advantage of that, or B, tear it down. But again, you can't control that. All you can control is yourself. If you're deciding to do something, you're the only person that can change your aspirations to do something into the reality of you actually have done it, having it done. So, I think for me, when I look at crypto, I don't even, maybe you guys, I don't know if this video even made sense to do today, but I think I wanted to do something different, because I talk a lot about all the bullish stuff going on in crypto just from the news standpoint. And I rarely talk about price, because for me, it's doesn't really matter, because if stuff goes down, I look at it as an opportunity again, like I said. And if stuff goes up, I look at it as an opportunity, because I believe that crypto, blockchain, distributed ledger are changing, are going to change the fabric of the way that we live at this point in time. So I really don't care what happens from a price standpoint in the short term. I can't control it anyway, so why would I care? That's a big thing too, is like, I know a lot of people that just get into crypto and they're looking towards, well, this is like a dangerous mindset too, because I know there's a lot of people that will just like tell you, and I still see it today, XRP is going to go to $500 by the end of the year, or XRP is going to go to $1,000 by X, Y, and Z time. And it's like, okay, number one, there's two scenarios, and this has not, I could care less about, these people will have the right to think however they want to think. And hey, it's great if you're that bullish. But there's two scenarios in which it's plausible for somebody to actually have that belief. Number one, they actually believe it. Or number two, they're selling you something. And for those of us in life and in crypto that have been here for a long enough time, number two, you're being sold something, is about 95 to 98% of what's probably happening. But I think what the real problem there creates this issue of people not being able to understand where they personally lie from a kind of financial or a goals level, because their goals are so maybe far beyond, which is okay for them to have those goals, that it makes it almost impossible for them to set realistic goals to change their situation, because they are hoping for this like massive gratification of like instant riches and stuff like that. And then it normally creates a lot of hatred and toxicity and stuff like that across social media and everything else, because you have people that are like expecting to get rich from a couple $100s. And at the end of the day, I saw a post from, I think it was the guy that was the senior ETF analyst at Bloomberg, Eric Balchunas, that guy I showed yesterday. And as a sidebar here, XRP did, the XRPC Canary Capital spot ETF that just launched yesterday did beat out Solana, the BSOL ETF, the highest volume ETF in 2025. And the same post that I saw, I forget exactly what XRP's was. I think it was like 58 or $59 million in volume. Solana was like $1 million less, maybe a little bit less than $1 million. So XRP eked out Solana. But I think the second or the third closest one besides XRP and then Solana was like $20 million. So drastically, outweighing, the number three. And this is like, I think around 1,000 spot ETFs this year. So it just shows the demand. But I think anyways, the post I think I saw was the guy was saying a lot of people in crypto, the vast majority, and not even in crypto, just in stocks in general, just investing, would be much better served just to buy and hold something long term than act like they, can trade in and out of things and do well. I actually even have said, like, I believe that that's probably the truth. I remember, oh shoot, I think in 20, I don't have, I probably have a lot less crypto than people think, but again, that's because I have tried doing stuff maybe a little bit differently, and I've certainly made mistakes, both on people, cryptos, trusting projects, doing things that I probably shouldn't have done as far as trusting people in the space standpoint. But I've tried grinding my ass off to make sure, like through the Genfinity stuff with interviews and stuff, like we didn't launch a token, haven't launched an NFT, have been in crypto, have had Genfinity since 2021, so over 4 years now, still haven't launched anything or sold anything to anybody. And I've just tried. I mean, last year I was working 12 or 14-hour days from the time I woke up until the time I went to bed, trying to schedule interviews, trying to branch out into additional layer one networks and stuff like that. Because I do fundamentally believe that we're headed towards a multi-chain future. And, I'm only one person. I only have, the team that I have, and we can only do so much. But I don't know. It's a testament to anybody could do what I did. Literally, I could care less about what I've achieved because anybody could do that. So what I'm telling you is, like, you can do the exact same. You could do whatever you want to do. It doesn't have to be in crypto. It doesn't have to be in wherever. But I go back to 2016, late 2016 or early 2017, and I had close to a full Bitcoin. And Bitcoin was only like a few $1,000s back in 2016, if I remember correctly, early 2017. But that to me was, and it still is, a ton of money. A few $1,000s back then for me, and still now, is like a ton of money. So, I think the most I probably put into crypto back in 2017 was probably about $1,000, maybe like $1,500, something like that. And then I think it went to like 12 grand at the top of the bull market. And I was like, back up the truck, honey, we're rich, like that was my mindset back then. You go down the path of like YouTube and all this other stuff. I just think there's so much information out there. It's like information overload. And at the end of the day, most of it is meaningless because you could probably learn more for yourself about what you should be doing in life and in crypto and, in a day than you could by probably watching a year's worth of my videos or any other influencers' videos, especially ones that are heavily leaning towards price predictions. Because at the end of the day, all that stuff is clickbait. It's, propagating this instant gratification mindset. And it really does nothing for you anyways, because at the end of the day, every single person is totally different than every other single person on the entire planet. Has different goals, has a different financial situation, has different, I don't know. You guys get where I'm going with that. But like I said, I mean, you do have the opportunity to do whatever you want to in your life. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't, because they're not the ones that are going to that are going to be making that decision for you anyways. Only you can decide if you're going to actually do whatever you want to do. And maybe you're already doing what you want to do. And this video certainly doesn't apply for you. But at the end of the day, I think that we're in a world that is very dangerous as far as setting expectations on yourself, because you're the only one that actually has the power to do that. You're the only one that has the power to make you feel a certain way as well. And we are in this very attention-driven economy that's only getting more and more attention-esque as far as, I need to be on social media. I need to doom scroll at night. Where's my attention going towards next? What am I doing? I think sometimes it does help to kind of look inward a little bit and be like, hey, what do I actually want to achieve? And like I said before, we have zero idea if we're even going to be around a minute from now, let alone 5 years from now or 2 years from now or whatever it is. So price action, I'll bring it back to crypto here, is only scary when you are either over leveraged or trying to get rich quick, mostly over leveraged. When prices crash in crypto, since we're talking about crypto mostly on this channel, you can look at it as a doom and gloom scenario because you've over leveraged yourself, or you can look at it as an opportunity. When prices rise, it's the same thing. Most of the times in life, I will say this, whether it be from a cashing out or buying, or whether it be from a I want to change my life for the better standpoint, the only way to really do that is to actually do it. And it doesn't feel good when you make decisions that are going to be good decisions. Let me rephrase that again. So, for me personally, with a couple of years of sobriety at this point in time, it was not easy to do that. To act, and same thing with quitting smoking, quitting chewing tobacco. I did quit caffeine for a little while, but I'm back on coffee. But like I said, it's more of like a living in the now type mindset that you really have to shift, because most people, at least in my thought process here, or at least for me, I can only speak for me. Most people that have issues with gambling, most people that have issues with addiction, whatever the addiction may be, a lot of it is like future oriented, right? I had this idea that I was missing out on having a good time if I wasn't drinking alcohol. Or people that gamble have this idea that they're going to, make all this money and X, Y, and Z is going to happen. But that is very living in the future oriented. But if you start trying to live in the present and make changes that you can only affect in the present, normally it does suck. If you've made bad decisions in the past, you've gotten yourself addicted, or you're trying to change your mindset and the way that you live your life, it is painful to go through that process. I will say that, but it's almost like this kind of cleansing process that happens kind of naturally with that. And you do become much stronger of a person when you start going through stuff, and you actually do achieve goals. But you can only eat a pizza one bite at a time. You can only chip away at an iceberg, one chip at a time too. So at the end of the day, crypto's going to do what crypto's going to do. Life's going to do what life's going to do. People outside of yourself are going to do what they're going to do as well. But opportunity is at hand here, and you have the ability to change your life no matter what it is. You can literally do whatever you want to do in life. All your hopes, all your dreams, all your future aspirations and goals, you can get there, but you can only get there by doing it yourself and doing it every second, kind of in the now. And I'm going to stop rambling here, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I have no idea if it was valuable or not. I didn't have a script. I had a couple of talking points, some of which I probably missed. But it is what it is. And I hope you guys have a great weekend, and God bless. And I will talk to you guys when I talk to you. Thanks. Bye.